we're just testing this to see how loud this speaker is. It's okay. Yeah. I am very happy to welcome Sri Swamiji to our small class of Aparokshanubhuti, and very delighted that he can send at least one evening, and I hope tomorrow also, if you have time, we can have a satsang. Swamiji really doesn't need any introduction. I think all of you know that, perhaps with one or two people. So I won't spend any of his valuable time doing so. But thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you for inviting me here also. During meditation, our mind is one with the self and we experience param shanti. But when we start our daily work and interact with the world, the tranquility of the mind starts dissipating. How can we maintain the same tranquility of the mind while dealing with the world? In meditation, you are by yourself. When, on the other hand, we interact with the world, there is world which pushes the buttons. The reason why we lose the tranquility of the mind while interacting with what we call the world, means other people, what happens is that our buttons are pushed. Meaning that the reason for the agitation of the mind is within ourselves. Although we think that the world is causing agitation to us, which is partly true, but agitation is created when we also cooperate. Unless there is a potential of agitation in my mind, the world cannot cause agitation. So theoretically, it is possible that the world need not cause any agitation in me. Lord Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita Dukkheshu anudvigdhamana, describing a wise person. Sukheshu vigataspurha. The world offers or presents itself before us as pleasant and unpleasant, as agreeable, disagreeable. This is the pairs of opposites. That's what is called world. World means dvandva or pairs of opposites. Meaning that the world presents before us as desirable, undesirable, agreeable, disagreeable, likable, dislikable. Whether the world presents itself in this manner, or do we brand the world that way? We call a given situation agreeable, some other situation disagreeable. The agreeability, the disagreeable causes agitation in me, naturally disturbs me. So that agreeable and disagreeable, are these attributes of the situations I meet with? Or are these the stamps that I make upon the situation? When I meet with a situation, which may be a person, an event, which I consider disagreeable, I become disturbed. But then the disagreeable aspect of the situation, is it the nature of situation or is it the way I perceive it? So, is it the world that causes agitation to us? Or is agitation caused by the way I perceive the world. You follow what I'm saying? The agitation in my mind when I'm interacting with the world means with other people, with other human beings mainly. The world other than human being generally doesn't do anything to me, doesn't cause any agitation. We have problems only with human beings. Because we have an expectation which other people may not meet with. When that happens, then I get agitated. So the point I am trying to make is agitation in my mind is not due to something that the world does or the way the world is. Agitation in my mind is due to my perception of what I am interacting with. I put a stamp, desirable, undesirable, likable, dislikable, and then I react. So it is possible, theoretically, to remain free from agitations when we interact with other people. That is how Lord Krishna describes a wise person. Dukkeshu anudvignamanaha sukeshu vigataspruha vita raga bhaya krodha sitadhi munihi uchyate. The wise person is described as Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Vita means who have left him. Raga, Bhaya and Krodha. Raga, attachment, Bhaya, fear, Krodha, anger. So wise person is free from these impulses of raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion, and the fear and anger arising from raga dvesha. Since these impulses are not there in the mind of a wise person, therefore he doesn't react. Meaning that his mind does not get agitated. So it is possible. And we cannot do much with the world. We can try, but we can bring about a change within a certain limit. In order to remain free from these agitations, you have to bring about a transformation of ourselves. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. The raga, bhaya, krodha, attachment, aversion, fear, anger, they are in me and they are the cause of my agitations. Rather than the world or what the world does, more than that, these impulses which are potentially there in me, they cause the agitation in my mind. So then the question is, how can we maintain the tranquility while dealing with the world? While meditating, there is nobody to push my buttons. And listen to the very tranquil, quiet sound of the teacher. And that also instills similar feeling in us. But that may not be the case with other people when we interact. But the idea is that we should try to remove these impulses of attachment, anger, fear. And understand that this fear, attachment, anger are not the nature of our mind. By nature, our mind is tranquil. These impulses arise when, as I said, buttons are pushed. And so, in order to attain the tranquility which is our nature, these intruders of attachment, aversion, anger, fear have to be removed. They are intruders. Meaning that attachment, aversion, anger, etc. is not our inherent nature. And therefore we can remove them by pratipaksha bhavana. So the Vedanta teaches that we should be constantly observing our mind, meaning that we should be aware of the thoughts arising in our mind. And whenever we find this kind of a thought, called attachment, aversion, fear, anger, we should neutralize that thought. Not allow that thought to build up. Just one or two thoughts don't do much damage. When a given thought builds up, then it becomes strong and powerful to disturb us. So before a thought becomes strong, we should try to deal with it and neutralize it by pratipaksha bhavana. That's the method that is taught to us. Paksha means a position. Pratipaksha means contrary position. So when anger arises in my mind, while interacting with somebody, that is because I have assumed a certain position with reference to that person. Let's say there is something in that person which I cannot tolerate. Anger is the result of intolerance. And so, tolerance, patience, acceptance, compassion, that becomes a means of neutralizing anger. We will tell you a story which you may have listened to a number of times. But this is a story, the creator is called Prajapati. He is the creator. This Prajapati, the creator, has created three kinds of progeny. Deva, Danava and Manava. Deva, the gods. Danava, the demons. Manava, the humans. Deva, Danava, Manava. The gods who live in heaven. The demons who live in the netherworld. And humans who live on the earth. So these are the three progeny that of Prajapati, the creator. Once upon a time, all these people decided, they thought, let us send our representative to Prajapati, the grandsire, to receive some teaching from him which can be helpful to us in our day-to-day life. So the Devata, gods, Danavas, demons, Manava, humans send their representative to their Prajapatis. They reach the world of Prajapati, live there for some time. living life of austerity, service. So when you do that, the mind becomes somewhat thinking, contemplative. After some time, Prajapati called them one by one. First, Prajapati called the Devatas and asked them, what is the purpose of your coming here? O Lord, we have come here seeking some Upadesha instruction from you which can be helpful to us in our day-to-day life. So Prajapati told the Devatas, gods, the. You must have heard this, right? The. Then Prajapati asked him, did you hear what I said? He says, yes, the. What does it mean? Dhamyata. So because Devatas had spent some time living life of austerity and service, therefore their mind had become thinking mind. Therefore they were able to interpret just one letter, the, from the teacher to understand what the teacher meant, dhamyata. Dhamma means self-control. In fact, dhamma means restraining the self. So dhamyata, may you observe, may you exercise self-control. Devata said, sir, you are right. We live in heaven. Devatas live in heaven, where there is every kind of pleasure available. And therefore, these Devatas generally lead a life of indulgence. Enjoying something is one thing, but when pleasures are available unconditionally, then life becomes that of indulgence. So Devatas said that, sir, you are right. Our life is characterized by indulgence. The dhamyata, restrain yourself, have self-control. Meaning that when we are enjoying an object of pleasure, what is required is controlling the self. Our Puja Swami used to say, we should have the freedom to pull back our chair from the dining table. Because we are served samosas, very delicious, tasty. And when I get something so tasty, it is difficult for me to control myself. One samosa, 2, 3, 4. A part of me knows that this is not the right thing to do because its consequences are, I will have to put up with it. So that time, the dhamyata, restrain yourself, pull back your chair, no, this much and no further. In short, in experiencing any object of pleasure, Vedanta does not say don't enjoy the objects of the world. Enjoy them with restraint. Have boundaries. So when I'm at the dining table, when samosas are served me, I first set boundaries. 3 samosas and no more. When I finish 3, my mind may want more, but I say, no. So, dhamyata, may you restrain yourself, meaning that whenever you are enjoying the pleasures, always draw boundaries. Not that you don't enjoy them, but enjoy within limits. So, yes, I have drawn the boundaries, 25 samosas, that's not the boundary. If you are able to consume 5 samosas, boundary should be 3, not 7. Because that boundary should involve self-restraint. So Devatas understood, yes, since our life is characterized by indulgence, this is the right thing. The damyata, restrain yourself while enjoying the pleasures. Then Prajapati called the Danavas, and second one. Danavas means demons, they live in the Patala, netherworld. And their life is usually characterized by cruelty. Cruelty, anger and cruelty. So when they reached Prajapati, Prajapati again uttered one word, the. Do you follow what I say? Yes, it's the. What does it mean? Dayadhvam. Dayadhvam means have mercy, have compassion. So whenever your mind gets angry, because anger is the characteristic of these demons. The Pratipaksha bhavana for anger is the. Dayadhvam, daya, mercy, forgiveness, compassion. So when anger arises in my mind towards somebody, because I cannot tolerate whatever that person has, I remind myself, daya. Have mercy, have compassion, have accommodation. So this is the Pratipaksha bhavana for anger. When you find anger arising in our mind, this is what the suggestion we give to our mind. Daya. Mercy, compassion. Be large-hearted. Be tolerant. So that would neutralize the impulse of anger. The third people who were called were human beings. To them also, Prajapati said, the. Did you hear what I said? It said, the. Yes, sir. What does it mean? Datta. That means, please give, be charitable. Human beings are characterized by greed. Greed means not being satisfied with what I have, what I get, and not being able to part with what I have. Greed has two aspects. I am not satisfied with what I have, and I cannot part with what I have. So datta, be charitable, be generous. That's what Prajapati told the human beings means that we have this kama, krodha and lobha, all these three are there in us. That we have kama means tendency to indulge, not just desire, but tendency to indulge when I am controlled by desire. As long as I can control the desire, there is no, in Puja Swami's words, we can afford to have some desires. But when desires start controlling me, it is like the tail wagging the dog. That is when I have a problem. So when we find that desire, before it gets out of control, dama, restrain yourself. The dayadhvam, anger, the datta, being charitable. So thus, Prajapati taught his progeny, these three, the. In Upanishad, this story comes. Upanishad further says, that in monsoon also, Prajapati is there up there. So in monsoon also, when the clouds are, so thunder is there in the clouds. The. So Prajapati continues to give this upadesha through the thunder of the clouds. So thus, if we are observing the mind, we become aware of the thoughts arising in the mind, then we should have this commitment to neutralize any impulsive thoughts. Before impulse takes over us, we should neutralize the impulse. In that way, we'll be able to control these impulses. Then people, we don't have those buttons. This is called removing the wiring behind the buttons. Buttons are there, but buttons will do the work when there is wiring behind them. This is removing wiring behind the buttons. The world will always push buttons. It's for us to remove this wiring. Then interacting with the world will not cause agitations. Or to the extent that we have brought in the control these impulses, to that extent we can maintain the tranquility of mind. Question here was that while we are in meditation, the mind is very tranquil. But when we interact with the world, we lose the tranquility, become agitated. The agitation is not only on account of world, but also on account of this potential of kama, krodha, lobha that we have. Since we can't do much with the world, we have to do something with ourselves. Try to remove those buttons or wiring behind the buttons. That's how we can interact with the world. There's one question. Any other question? Thank you. And anybody else? She is very kind. She has brought the cordless microphone. So if somebody else has a question, they can use the microphone. When a sadhaka practices detachment from the world, when a sadhaka practices detachment from the world, it may seem like he is showing disrespect and arrogance towards the world. Can you advise how a sadhaka should handle this situation? Detachment need not necessarily involve disrespect or arrogance. Detachment is making our mind free from attachment. Attachment means dependence. Attachment means expectations. Attachment means that I am dependent upon something or somebody for my comfort and well-being. When I am dependent upon someone else for my comfort or well-being or happiness, that is when I am controlled by that someone. You follow? Attachment makes me dependent. With attachment, I become controlled because I am dependent upon the person or entity to whom attachment. That determines whether I'll be happy or not. So detachment means becoming free from dependence, really. Detachment does not mean that I become indifferent towards them, I start disliking them, I turn away from them. Detachment does not have to mean that. Detachment means healthy relationship, understand? Detachment need not necessarily mean lack of relationship or severing relationship. You may, but does not have to be. Detachment means a healthy relationship. A relationship characterized by freedom from expectation. In every relationship, or in every interaction, we have expectation of one or the other kind from the person we are relating to. We observe our mind and see how this expectation is sort of built in our mind. And therefore, what causes us to behave in a manner which is interpreted as disrespect or arrogance is a lack of perhaps understanding of what detachment means. Detachment can mean that you cut off your relation, but it doesn't have to be so. It is likely that the attachment may remain in our mind in spite of cutting off the relationship. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vishayaha vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam. That a person can create distance with the objects of pleasure. Just as when we come to this kind of retreat, we have created a distance with our home, family. Of course, this place also gives a lot of pleasure, including dining table, hall and everything. But usually, when you come to an ashram, so our Puja Swamiji wanted that ashram should be like home. People should feel that they are at home, they don't miss home. That was Swamiji's concept of ashram. Usual concept of ashram is that there is shrama, there is exertion. And therefore in many ashrams, you get only certain kind of food at a certain time in certain quantity. This is just to illustrate. What I'm saying is that detachment does not have to mean turning away from something, creating a distance. Because in spite of creating physical distance, the attachment for that thing may still remain in our mind. You come away from home, it may have been our habit every morning to have our cup of coffee at 6:30. I don't know what kind of coffee, if at all, this ashram provides, what kind of tea it provides. You are accustomed to certain kind of tea, certain kind of... So in meditation, meditate upon tea or coffee, because what you are missing at home, from home. Meaning that a distance is created from the object of pleasure, but the longing for that object remains in our mind. And therefore, in spite of having created distance, our mind continues to think about that. Meaning that we are not free from the impact of that object of pleasure. And so what needs to be done is becoming free from that attachment also. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says rasa, longing, that also to deal with. And that is what is meant by detachment. Detachment does not mean that I shove aside, don't give me, then it may look like disrespect. It may look like arrogance. I don't need that. Not for me. Then may look like arrogance. It's possible. our perhaps outward behavior maybe, which can be interpreted as disrespect or arrogance. But detachment does not have to mean that at all. Detachment means freedom of the mind, really. When there is detachment, you are free and happy. In detachment, when I become, in detachment, if there is sense of loss, then it is not really detachment. I'm missing something. If I'm missing something, then I don't have it physically, but it's there very much in my mind, the attachment is there. Detachment means that I am comfortable without a given thing or with a given thing. Detachment is freedom from attachment or freedom from dependence for my sense of pleasure or well-being. I do not depend upon a given thing for a sense of well-being or sense of happiness. That means that I am comfortable with my... When I can be truly detached is when I am comfortable with myself. When I become free from the need of a given thing, that is when the true detachment is. It is there, well and good. Not there, well and good. That's what we call detachment. So detachment is not the name of a given kind of behavior, not also creating a distance or rejecting something which is there. The detachment need not have to mean rejecting something, turning away from something, but it can mean a comfort, whether something is there or not there. If you're that is called detachment. When I become free from the need of that thing. Detachment makes me free. Therefore, a person enjoying detachment is a happy person. No, I am detached and therefore I become very sad-faced or something. No. Which means that detachment requires that I should get compensation from myself. The mind requires pleasure. If the mind does not get pleasure from out there, it must get from inside. If I have given up that also and this is also not there, then this kind of things can happen, yes. Which is all right, that it may be part of discipline that I want to create distance, I don't want to indulge in something. But detachment means becoming free from the need of something. Thing is there, I'm all right. Not there, I'm all right. That will be detachment.
So my question, Swamiji, is based on the Aparokshanubhuti that we have been studying.
Mm-hmm.
And since you have done so much contemplation on that topic, you have just written a book, I thought, it's just something that's not clear, I'll try to get it clarified.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are in the Swapan Avastha, then we are the Upadan Karanam for the creation of the dreams comes from our own selves, right? So we are sort of the creator of that content that we see during our Swapna Avastha. But during our Jagrat Avastha, where we are in the mithya Jagat, what is the Upadan Karanam of Jagat? Is it Brahman itself or something else?
So let us understand the dream example first. That yes, you are right that I am the maker as well as what is Ishvara is maker as well as the material. The dream world, I am the creator of the dream world because it is product of my mind. I am also the material for dream world because it's through mind I am the material. Dream is the projection of my mind, or my mind itself takes the form of the dream world. In that sense, we say that I am the material. It is my mind that is the material. That's what projects the dream world. Similar situation exists in the waking also, except there that I cannot be that small I. An individual mind is what projects the dream world. The cosmic mind of Ishvara is what projects the waking world. Waking world is called Ishvara Srushti, the creation of Ishvara or total mind, and dream is Jiva Srushti, creation of dream or Jiva or individual mind. Both are projections. Both are mithya. But one is projection of individual mind, other is projection of the total mind, cosmic mind. Does it clarify your question? Or you had...
Yes, it does. So when you're saying Ishvara or the Jagat is the creation of the cosmic mind, the bigger mind, Ishvara, is that the same as Brahman?
Yes. Brahman with the power of creation is called Ishvara. Brahman, when it assumes the power of creation, it is called Ishvara. Brahman always is called Ishvara. With the costume of creativity or Maya. Maya is the power of creation. There.
Namaste, Swamiji. I have a question. What are some different ways for us to purify ourselves and make ourselves more eligible to receive as well as retain the Gyan?
We always purify ourselves means making ourselves free from these impulses. We talked about them. Impulses are represented by these three: kama, krodha and lobha. So by constantly pratipaksha bhavana, you have to work with them and try to neutralize them. That is the way to purify the mind. Secondly, as Lord Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, to deliberately adopt the attitude of a contributor rather than a consumer. As the Puji Swami used to say, when somebody comes before me, the first thought in my mind is, how can I be useful to this person? When somebody comes before me, my first thought is, how can I use that person? In the case of Swamiji, how can I be useful to the person? So we have to transform that from the tendency to use things to becoming useful. So this is what Lord Krishna prescribes in the Bhagavad Gita as a means of transforming the mind. Purification of mind. This tendency of using, coming from self-centeredness, is what is impurity. And they were deliberately trying to become the other-centered. Self-centeredness is primary impurity. And therefore, deliberately trying to be other-centered would be the way to remove that impurity. It's a process, but we have to undertake that.
Swamiji, when you talked about detachment earlier, is vairagya the same concept as detachment?
Yes, yes. Vairagya is the word derived from the word viraga. Viragaha, vigataha, ragaha, yasmatsaha. Viragaha means that state of that from which all raga or attachment has gone away. Vairagya means the state of mind. Vairagya is a state of mind from which attachment has gone away. So a mind free from attachment and aversion is called a mind enjoying vairagya. Yes. So detachment means both, freedom from attachment and aversion. Although we only spoke of attachment, it also includes aversion. Meaning that I do not have attachment to something doesn't mean I have aversion for that. Sometimes vairagya is interpreted as aversion for the world. Swamiji, I don't like anything. No interest in anything. So disinterestedness or dislike is sometimes misunderstood as vairagya. But no, vairagya means freedom from attachment as well as aversion. When the mind enjoys freedom, that is one of a healthy relationship. Very often our relationship involves attachment or aversion. And when the mind is free from both, that's when we are enjoying vairagya, dispassion. Where translated as dispassion.
Namaskar, Swamiji. Swamiji, my question is on the mithya world that is created. One is in the dream state, that there's in the dream there's a dream which comes and it dissolves. So which is very easy to understand. But when you take it to the waking world, like waking state, so how do we consider that this world is a mithya? Like this is a projection. How do you assimilate that information?
There are a few ways of doing that. One is that the dream world is mithya. So whatever there is in dream is mithya, right? If the dream world is mithya, then whatever there is in the dream world is mithya. Now, I could very well be dreaming, meaning in a dream also there can be a similar setup, where there is this duality of the subject and object. In the dream world also we interact with the world, and there also there is a relationship of subject and object, right? So when dream is mithya, then subject-object relationship also is mithya. Is obtaining in dream, you follow? So from the dream we understand that if dream is mithya, then everything in a dream is mithya, then the subject-object relationship obtaining in dream also is mithya. Now the waking also subject-object relationship exists, therefore waking also is mithya. This is one way of understanding. That just as the dream world is characterized by the setup of the subject-object, so also waking world has the same setup of subject-object. Therefore the waking also is mithya. This is one way. That's the way that Mandukya Karika explains. Other way is what is meant by mithya. When you say dream is mithya, you say that because dream is transitory or fleeting, therefore it's understandable that it is mithya. It lasts for a long time, short time, isn't it? That's why. But that short time is from whose standpoint? So, weaker standpoint. When you were dreaming, you did not think that it's a short spell of time. You follow? For dreamer, the dream world is real. For dreamer. When we say the dream world is mithya, it is from the standpoint of the waker the dream world is mithya. When I was dreaming, svakale satyavad bhati, when I was dreaming, at that time that world also was real for me. It's only after waking from the dream that from the waker standpoint that we say the dream is mithya. You follow? So if you wake up from this world, what we are experiencing right now is called the beginning sleep of avidya. Anadi maya supta. That we are also sleeping, except in the sleep of maya or avidya or ignorance. Dirgha swapna, a long dream. That is a short dream, it's a long dream. And therefore it's only when we wake up that truly we understand the mithyatvam of the world. We understand from reasoning right now the world is mithya. But the true mithyatvam is understood when understanding satya. Just as from the standpoint of waking we understand dream as mithya, so also from the standpoint of satya we understand the waking world also as mithya. Dream was mithya from waking standpoint. Waking is mithya from the standpoint of the satyam or atma. But same setup of subject-object is there. Dream objects are changing, waking objects are also changing. So there are many attributes that are common to the dream and the waking. Therefore, the waking is mithya. But that is from the standpoint of logic or reasoning. In the dream, if somebody reasoned like this, I would have understood but not realized it. I realize the mithyatvam of the dream from the Viveka standpoint. So from your own standpoint of what you are, which is Satchidananda, from that standpoint the waking world is mithya. Although we can understand the mithyatvam of the waking world, also because in the waking objects also are transitory, they are also fleeting, they are also changing. And what is changing cannot be the essential nature. Essential nature must be that which does not change. Everything is changing. Everything is fleeting. What appears cannot be real, cannot be true. What is true is what does not change. And that is myself. So I am the reality of this waking world also. Just as the dream observer, the dream witness is the reality of dream, so also the witness of waking is the reality of waking. And then another way also of understanding is that what is called mithya is what appears to be there but not really there. What is meant by mithya is what appears to be there but is not really there. Just in the dream we see elephants and mountains and things like that, but not really there. So in the waking we experience happiness, for example, coming from sense objects. Happiness in the waking state appears to be coming from the objects of the world. When we analyze, we realize that it cannot be so. Because if this thing had happiness as a content, then everybody should feel happiness while experiencing this. This, I am sure, has been analyzed. That even though we seem to gain happiness from experiencing the world, objects of the world, when we analyze, we realize it cannot be so, because there cannot be an object of which happiness is the attribute. Because then everybody should experience happiness. And therefore, this object appears to give me happiness, but it does not have happiness. So therefore, happiness coming from this object is my notion rather than a reality. So that we can understand the mithyatvam, at least, of the happiness coming from the world. Or mithyatvam of the samsara, that my sadness, my unhappiness also cannot be logically explained. Because happiness and fullness is my nature. How can I am unhappy, but I am full? How can they coexist? So therefore, this unhappiness, sadness also cannot be explained the reason which I am. So that is also mithya. Samsara also is mithya. So to that extent we can understand mithya, if not the whole world. What is relevant to us, we can understand that as mithya. The happiness coming from the objects is just an appearance, or my sense of unhappiness or also is not real. This world is mithya, will come later. But our jiva srushti is Ishvara srushti. The unhappiness, sadness is all jiva srushti. So it is that we can understand the mithyatvam of that. And then someday we'll understand the Ishvara Srushti, Mithyatvam. It's not very important. Ishvara Srushti does not bind us as much as a Jiva Srushti. Jiva Srushti means what is projected by us, what is created by us. Any other question? Shall we conclude? We'll conclude with a bhajan. So you have to repeat after me. मानस भजरे गुरु चरणम मानस भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम मानस भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय स्वामीनाथ सद्गुरु जय जय स्वामीनाथ सद्गुरु जय जय. Everybody. Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namah Om Namah Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namah Om. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Aruna Shiva. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Aruna Shiva. Manasa bhajare Guru Charanam. Manasa bhajare Guru Charanam. Dustara bhava sagar taranam. Dustara bhava sagar taranam. Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai. Guru Maharaj, Guru Jai Jai. Swaminatha Sadguru Jai Jai. Swaminatha Sadguru Jai Jai. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namah Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namah Om. Shivaya. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Aruna Shiva. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Aruna Shiva. Manasa bhajare Guru Charanam. Dustara bhava sagar taranam. Dustara bhava sagar taranam. Dustara bhava sagar taranam. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhaved, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha